am Cassandra of the Golden Towers, daughter of kings and sorrows. My cradle was carved from the same ancient stone that birthed the marbled pillars of Apollo's temples. My swaddling clothes were woven with orichalcum threads like those adorning the gowns of goddesses. Each stitch worked with the bitter tears of a future yet to come. The blood of the mighty King Priam and the storm-eyed Queen Hecuba flowed in my veins, but neither this glorious lineage nor the pure joy of the children who once grew in the shadow of the throne could shield me from the gods' cruel and at times incomprehensible jokes. Troy was a city of walls that reached for the sky, gleaming with gold and pride, but I was the only one who saw the cracks beneath its walls, the rotten secrets lying under its marble. It is said that in the shade of the temple dedicated to Apollo, among the sacred laurels, the sun god whispered to me as the children of Troy played. I remember that moment like a dream, like a wisp of smoke. His breath was warm, like the sweetness of wine harvested in midsummer. The warmth I felt on my skin was also like a light filling me from within. I remember him not only bestowing upon me the gift of prophecy, but also whispering of his love for me. "Your lips will speak truths older than Olympus, my child," he promised, his voice carrying the power of the universe's beginning. In that moment, I became not just a little girl, but a vessel carrying the secrets of the earth and sky. What he didn't tell me was that these truths would fall upon ears clogged with the wax of mortal pride. The gifts of the gods are sometimes no different from poisoned apples. When I rejected his forceful love, for love is born from the union of souls, not by force, his blessing began to circulate its poison through my veins like a coiled serpent in my chest. The visions remained, they remained forever, but my warnings now echoed like funeral bells in the desolate streets of a conquered city, empty and meaningless. Everything I saw was like a theater stage, and I was the only one backstage who knew what was coming. 10 winters passed before Troy's glorious days, like the setting sun, turned a blood-red color. I can never forget that night, at the end of the 10th winter, when Sirius, usually a silver needle in the sky and its most faithful guardian, glowed crimson like a fresh wound, a harbinger of a disaster. The sea wind carried not a salty breeze, but the metallic sharpness of blood not yet spilled, as if a scent had arrived from the future. Within me, that familiar, terrible pain began to sink its claws into my soul, like a cat. As I knelt before the altar, a gift from Poseidon, the earth shaker, which no one dared to defile, the marble stones groaned and cracked beneath my palms, as if the earth itself was weeping. In that moment, my mind, body, and soul merged, and whispers came echoing in the air. War is coming on painted prows. Every drop of the sea carries a drop of sorrow. Then the images came, not in dreams, but while awake, like lightning bolts exploding in the depths of my soul. I saw Paris returning with his stolen bride, his golden hair not yet braided, but I saw it as a funeral shroud prematurely woven. His steps were not just the prince's steps, but the beginning of the road to the city's destruction. I saw Hector, powerful and invincible, heading into battle, his mighty spear gleaming in the air. But I saw that spear as a shattered hope, fallen to dust. His honorable death meant the last hope of the city would be buried in the earth as well. And that horrifying moment, as the colossal horse's wooden belly gave birth to death, I saw the walls of Troy weep with molten bronze, its tears flowing down to the city's foundations. This horse was not a gift, but a coffin, a disaster, and a curse. I ran barefoot through the palace's gilded, magnificent halls, my cries echoing. Every step was like a scream on the marble floor, but no one heard me. My voice was shrill, trembling in the air like a thin pane of glass. Send her back. Send back that curse, that Spartan shadow, before dawn, before more blood is spilled. I cried out, but my father, the wise King Priam, only sighed, looking at me with his tired, merciful yet blind eyes. He caressed my cheek, as one might indulge a feverish child, the warmth of his hand unable to soothe the icy fear within me. You attach too much meaning to the stars and omens, my sweet, he said, his voice that of a worried father, not a king. My mother, Queen Hecuba, who once cradled me and wove my swaddling clothes, now pressed her hands to my lips, trembling. Shh, be quiet, my child. Kings do not heed a young girl's nightmares. Your words show them weakness. Their mercy was my prison. My exile among the living thus began. Everyone in the palace started to see me as a forgotten memory, a ghost. I paced for hours alone in the moonlit colonnades, whispering my own name in the silence of the night. They called me the Mad Princess, my fingers feeling the imprints of the coming destruction on every sun-warmed stone, every marble pillar feeling the blood of the city's soul. The servants who passed by me would cross themselves, whispering that everything I touched was cursed. Even my own sisters, those innocent souls who once laughed and played with me, now kept the distance, whispering that Apollo's kiss had ruined my mind, as if it had been my choice. But I was not mad. I was simply seeing the truth, drowning in clarity. Every moment they lived was for me the shadow of a looming disaster. While they laughed, I heard the wails. While they celebrated, I saw the silence of the dead. Each day brought new horrors. Each morning I awoke with a more terrible vision than the last. I saw Politus, death's rattle, a sound that was the echo of his yet-to-be-lived years, tearing his lungs. He was my father's youngest, most beloved son, and I knew how he would die in every minute detail. I heard the savage maternal screams of Andromache as her baby was torn from her trembling, hopeless arms. I knew how her baby would be thrown from those walls, how that innocent child playing in the nursery would die, and this was killing me. And I saw Aeneas, on the night the city burned in flames, how he would carry his old and weary father on his shoulders, his sandals slipping in the blood of Troy, how he would escape. His escape was not salvation, but the city's last breath. I saw all of this. I tried everything to keep them from living through it. I tried everything to warn them, to persuade them to stand against this fate. But Troy, that glorious city, was always a city that preferred sweet lies to bitter truths. And on the final night, that dark night, as the Greeks feigned their retreat,
I climbed to the highest tower, the only point where the entire city could see. The wind carried the scent of empty, deceitful offerings, of the great oak and the horse of hubris. Under that scent was the smell of a burning hope, a burning city. Below, my people were singing and drinking, already declaring themselves victorious, their voices filled with joy and merriment. Drums, songs, laughter. Everyone was happy. Everyone was at ease. But I knew how brief their happiness would be. Then my mother, Queen Hecuba, found me. Her voice is weary as fate itself. "Come down, my daughter. This madness is enough. It's getting late." My eyes, like twin pools of the darkest prophecies, turned to her. I saw my own reflection in her eyes, but she did not see the horror in mine. "No, mother, it is too late. The time has long passed. That horse, that curse, will enter." And in that moment, as the first screams rose from the city gates, and the sound of those screams suddenly silenced the drums, the songs, the laughter, I did not cry. For in that moment, I understood my true curse. Being right is the loneliest thing in this world.
Long before the war began, the foundations of Troy had already started to decay. From the outside, bathed in the golden glow of the sun, everything seemed the same, even more magnificent. The palace golden-plated stairs built with the purest marble brought from the foothills of Mount Olympus dazzled the eyes with the sunlight, and every step echoed like drums celebrating a hero's victory. The marble columns, as if erected by the very hands of the gods, carried the city's pride towards the heavens. The marketplaces were as crowded as ever, purple fabrics from Phoenicia, exotic spices from Egypt, rare olive oils from Lycia. All the wealth of the Mediterranean pulsed in the heart of Troy. A story was being told on every street corner. Every face was overflowing with a smile. Young warriors, brandishing their spears in the city's largest tournament area, were like statues with their tense muscles and the gleam of their iron armor. Their laughter was a song of Troy's invincibility. Children played in a piece that seemed as if it would never end. Mothers sang songs. From the outside, Troy was living its most magnificent, most powerful, most peaceful period in its history. But I, looking with Apollo's cursed gift, saw the decay behind this false glory. Beneath every smile, the fear of an impending disaster was hidden. I knew that the owners of those smiling eyes would soon be filled with sorrow. Every laugh was nothing more than a curtain drawn to hide the uncertainty of the next day, the noise of war, the silence of death. Behind every shout of victory, the seeds of defeat had already been sown. Those showy spears could not change the destiny of even the mightiest heroes. Those dazzling armors would become the ornaments of a coffin, and the sweet, intoxicating scent of spring flowers within the freshly budding hopes lay the sharpness and freezing cold of the coming winter that awaited Troy. My eyes saw a harbinger of death in every detail of this beautiful city, in the wing of a dove, in a child's cry, in the whisper of a breeze. Everywhere I saw the city's blood. As Paris strolled arm in arm with that Spartan woman whose name I will never utter, Helena, in the palace's manicured heavenly gardens, everyone admired their love. They were the young, glorious prince of Troy and the most beautiful woman in the world. They had become a symbol for the city, so much so that Helena's arrival in Troy was seen as a gift from the gods. Around the lovers, all the nobles of Troy gathered, applauding this blessed love. Everyone believed that this love would bring new victory to the city, that it was proof of the gods' affection for us. As they sang the song of this love, I heard the lament at the end of that song. I could see Helena's true shadow. On her shoulders was not just a sheep cape, but the curse of vengeance from Sparta, from Agamemnon. Every curl of her hair was a harbinger of the winds that would sweep through Troy, and in each one I saw the color of the Trojan blood yet to be spilled. Beneath every marble stone she stepped on lay the yet-to-be dug graves of thousands of Trojans who would die of hunger and war. Their love was a death march for me, a lament written for a city. Under the weight of this truth, I could not bear it any longer. I escaped from the palace halls, from that golden cage. I ran into the marketplace, into the midst of my people. That exuberant crowd was still enchanted by Helena's beauty, still talking about Paris's courage. I opened my palms to the sky and screamed with all my might, my voice echoing as if it were the voice of all the souls of Troy. Listen to me, pay heed. Ships are approaching from the sea like dark clouds. The bronze-helmeted, black-sailed Achaeans are coming. They are an army that brings death. Send this woman away. Save our city from this curse. My cry, for a moment, cut through the lively bustle of the market. Everyone turned to me, their eyes showing surprise and then hatred. My words were like arrows for them. The reaction of the people was brutal. An old woman with deep wrinkles on her face spat on me, shouting, "In the name of the gods, be silent! You bring bad luck!" A child hid behind her mother's skirt, pointing at me, whispering in a trembling voice, "Mom, the mad girl is screaming again." In the marketplace, a man who once served me now looked at me with disgust and cried, "Her words insult this great gift the gods have given us." The palace guards came so quickly as if they were waiting for me. They grabbed my arms and pulled me aside, saying, "Princess, you are shaming yourself. In the name of our father the king, you must be silent." The hardness of their hands was less painful than the coldness of their words. In that moment, I had been struck both physically and spiritually. That night, after all this shame and agony, I had a dream. But this dream was different from the dreams that carried the horrible images of the future. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, came to my dream. Her silver armor gleamed with moonlight, and her eyes were filled with the warrior's resolve, but also a mother's compassion. "Cassandra," she said, her voice like the sound of a spear echoing in the air, yet soft like a whisper. "Your eyes may be cursed, but your heart is the purest, most innocent heart of Troy. The fact that people do not hear you is not your curse. It is their destiny. Even we gods cannot untangle some threads of fate. You were just a vessel, and they are the blind walking on their path to their own end. Do not try to find someone who will hear you, who will believe you, because there is no such person. They chose hatred and war, and they will pay the price for their choices. You are just a soul chosen to bear witness to this tragedy." These words did not give me a speck of comfort. On the contrary, they magnified the scale of my curse. When I woke up, my pillow was soaked with blood. The blood from my nose had colored the white of the pillow red. This was a reflection of the physical and spiritual pain I was living through. I looked in the mirror. In front of me was no longer a princess, but a pale ghost, a prisoner of prophecy. In my eyes was the sorrow of Troy's soul, the weight of my curse.
In that moment, I understood that I was truly alone. As the days went by, the hope within me hardened like a piece of marble. My father, Priam, continued to offer wine to the gods every day, without knowing that every drop of wine was a drop of Trojan blood that would be spilled. Paris, that blind lover, read poems to Helena, averting his eyes from me, from the truth. For him, the only truth was the light in Helena's eyes. Hector, the city's mightiest hero, stood guard on the walls, unable to see the ships I saw, those dark shadows appearing on the horizon of the sea. His eyes were focused only on the enemies, but the greatest enemy was within. And I no longer spoke. I no longer screamed, because I had understood that my voice was nothing more than an echo bouncing back from a wall. Speaking only increased my own pain, and my cries became a subject of ridicule. I closed my eyes, sealed my lips, and built myself a prison of silence. Now, rather than the noise from the outside, I heard the sound of the silence within me, because I had now understood that when the gods fall silent, the noise of men is only the sound of their own footsteps to their end.
The war came. It came not like a silent whisper, but like the simultaneous roar of thousands of drums, like a bellowing explosion in the midst of the earth and sky. Just as I had seen, the sea, the blue waters of the Aegean had turned dark with a countless army of bronze and black ships rising from the horizon. Each prow was as sharp as a dragon's teeth, each sail as black as a funeral shroud. I had seen this sight before. I had cried out this curse to them before, but no one had heard me. This endless shadow on the horizon was the embodiment of my prophecies. In that moment, the scream that pierced the air no longer came only from within me. It was now a song of terror rising from the throats of thousands of Trojans. The Achaeans had arrived. The waiting that had lasted for years, the taunts, the whispers spread by word of mouth, and the false hopes had all vanished in a cloud of dust. My eyes picked out their commanders, the rage of Achilles, the desire for vengeance of Agamemnon, the cunning mind of the master Odysseus. Each one was like a monster ready to swallow Troy. The city's breath was held. The joyful marketplaces had suddenly emptied, the noise of life giving way to a deafening silence. Even the bravest warriors paused for a moment in front of such great power, their swords trembling in their hands. From the outside, Troy's walls still stood tall, looking as strong and impenetrable as if they had been built by the gods themselves. But I saw thousands of cracks in the heart of the fortress. Those cracks were not just in the marble, but in the hearts of my people. Beneath each crack, a mother's wail, a child's last breath was hidden. I knew that the strength of Troy was only a shell, and it would soon be shattered to pieces. When the first arrows fell in the quietest moment of the day, at the break of dawn, the city fell silent for a moment. The war, which had seemed like a game until then, suddenly became real. The humming sound of the arrows flying through the air rang in my ears like a death song. People still couldn't believe it. The vendors in the marketplace hesitated to open their doors. The flowers in the palace gardens seemed to wilt and shrink in the face of this unexpected violence. It was as if the enemy had not really come, as if this was just a nightmare. The tension of the war that had lasted for years had been covered with a curtain of false hope.
They believed that the Greeks could not take Troy, that the gods would protect us. But I knew that this false belief was Troy's greatest weakness. But when the sun reached its zenith in the afternoon, and the swords, helmets, and shields gleamed in the sunlight in a way that blinded the eyes, the fate of Troy and its people changed forever. The horrible sound of spears hitting shields reverberated through the sky. The war had begun in all its ferocity. The shadow of Ares was cast on the walls by the moonlight. The god of war had descended upon these lands, and the smell of blood and fury spread everywhere. Even the gods had now turned their foes away. That silence from Olympus was like a reflection of my curse. There was no sound of thunder, no flashes of lightning. There were only the sounds of people, the sounds of swords and spears. And I saw, in every blow, in every clash, the war was not just tearing apart bodies, but souls as well. The courage of heroes was turning into death. The hopes of women were turning into sorrows. The innocence of children was turning into fear. In that moment, I wanted to rebel against the gods. Why had they condemned us to such a brutal fate? Why had they given us hope and then taken it from our hands? Inside the palace, my father, Priam, was still praying. His white beard was wet with tears. He was kneeling before the altar, pleading with the gods. But the gods were not listening to his offerings. I was standing by his side. In his eyes was the color of sorrow and agony. He was not just the king of Troy, but a father living in fear of losing his sons and daughters. In that moment, I felt like I was chained. The chains on my arms were invisible, but they were heavier than steel. I saw, but could not prevent. I knew, but could not make anyone believe. This was my real prison. I approached my father and touched his shoulder. I felt his shaking body. "Father," I whispered, "these prayers are in vain. The gods have abandoned us. They are laughing at our own curse. Give it up, these lies." He turned to me, a momentary glint of anger in his face, but then that anger turned into a deep wave of sorrow. "I want to believe you, my daughter," he said, his voice trembling, but then everything ends. Despair is the greatest of enemies. While he fought with despair, I had already become despair. "Look," I cried one day, my voice cracked, my soul shattered. A group of soldiers were passing by Paris on the walls. I ran towards them and extended my arm. The woman Paris brought is not a woman but death herself, not Helena but the bride of Hades. In that moment, all the people of the city, all the nobles, even Priam looked at my face. But the horror that had appeared in their eyes for a moment soon gave way to ridicule again, to a hateful look. They silenced me again. A soldier, laughing, said to me, "The mad girl is dreaming again." The women who passed by me turned their backs on me, as if my curse would contaminate them. The men became afraid to look me in the eyes, because they knew what I was seeing. They knew that every word of mine was true, but they did not have the courage to hear that truth. They had taken refuge in their own lies, just like the passengers hiding in the lowest deck of a ship about to sink. Behind the walls, new deaths, new screams piled up every day. The war was consuming the soul of Troy. Young men, laughing as they went to war in the morning, had their bodies brought back in the evening. Mothers could no longer recognize their children's bodies, their faces covered in blood and dust. Blood dust and mud had mingled, coloring the soil beneath the walls a crimson red. Every day, the sea of blood grew, swallowing Troy's soul, and I was a spectator of this horror from the front row, and I was still standing, because this was my curse, to see every detail of the war, to hear every mother's wail, every father's silent cry, every child's fear. But I could not stop it. The death of Troy was being played out like a theater in front of my eyes, and I was the only actor who could not take a part on the stage. One day, the blood of an unlived death stained the shield of my beloved brother Hector. The sorrow on his shield was like a spear plunged into my heart. The next day, with his death, a great wave of sorrow swept through the city. I saw Priam crying. In that moment, I understood that this war would not only be won with swords, but with tears as well. I, Cassandra, knelt on the stone steps every night praying between the blood and ashes. I pleaded with Apollo, "Leave me, take this curse from me, silence these visions," I cried out. But the sky was silent. Zeus's lightning flashed in other lands. Athena had turned her face away, and Apollo, the god who had given me prophecy, was now only silent. I was left alone with my fate, with my curse. There was no longer hope nor salvation, only an endless war, an endless sorrow, and an endless loneliness.
Time in the war melted away. 10 years had passed like a day. Each day was a bitter replica of the one before. The nights had turned into a never-ending shroud of mourning, an eternal sorrow. The stone walls of that magnificent, impenetrable Troy had started to crack and become covered with moss. Each crack was not a spear thrust from the enemy, it was the breaking of a hope, a belief. But the human heart was far more fragile than the walls. The deep lines on my people's faces were not just the marks of age, but the etchings of a decade of weariness and pain. Every morning I would wake to the smoke of a burning house rising after a new clash outside the walls. That smoke was not just the smell of burnt wood, it was the sharp, lung-searing smell of a life lost, of a hope turned to ash. Every night I would fall asleep with the hot tears of a mother mourning her child lost in the war. I, Cassandra, a princess of a time gone by, was now like a ghost living in the palace, a specter seen but not looked at, heard but not listened to. The only thing left of me was the poison of prophecy coursing through my body. The gods, they were silent too. There was no longer a sound from Olympus, nor a sign. Apollo had looked me in the eye on the day he gave me prophecy. In those eyes there was once a fire of passion. But now I had his curse, not his blessing, because when I rejected his love, they gave me the future and the inability to tell anyone about it. My offerings, my prayers, and my cries no longer receive the booming sounds that once came from Olympus, not even a whisper. The heavens were empty. The gods, tired of this bloody game of mortals, had turned their faces away. My father, the wise King Priam, despite the weariness of a decade, still faithfully sacrificed animals. At every new dawn, a bull's throat was slit, its blood flowing onto the marble of the altar. But I, and the throats of every slaughtered bull, heard the scream of an innocent Trojan child on the verge of dying of hunger. What did we do to deserve this curse? This question pierced my heart like a sword. While everyone believed that salvation would one day come, I knew that these sacrifices and prayers were nothing more than empty rituals. Paris was still stroking Helena's golden hair among the well-kept roses of the palace gardens, giving meaning to the cause of the war, his own mistake, with love. This man, the sole perpetrator of Troy's destruction, was still acting like a hero. But in Helena's eyes, I saw not a goddess, but an emptiness admired by death. Her beauty was the last flower on Troy's coffin. This love was being lived at the cost of a city's extinction. And Hector? He was Troy's last light, the last glimmer of hope in this merciless darkness. Every step like a prayer, every sword blow was a promise made for the future of his people. But I had seen his end too, his destiny gleaming on Achilles' sword. On the day of that final clash, as Hector was heading towards the gates of the walls, I ran to him. "Do not go out of that gate," I cried, my hands clinging to his strong arms. "Your departure is not just your death, but the death of Troy. If you go, Troy's heart will stop. If Troy loses its soul, it will be destroyed." But he died for his people, for the honor of the city. And I was once again left to watch a prophecy come true. With his death, the last fragments of hope remaining in the city were also buried in the earth. Now, Troy's heart had truly stopped. The night began to get darker than ever. Not even the stars were shining over Troy anymore. Only the moonlight fell on the city like a funeral shroud. And on that last day, the calm waters of the Aegean Sea were suddenly illuminated by a bright sunlight. The Greek ships were gone. The noise of war had been replaced by the sound of birds, the lapping of waves. The people, in surprise, flocked to the walls. The enemy that had been pressing on the gates of Troy for 10 years, the enemy that had even taken a hero like Hector, was gone. But why was this silence so terrifying? Why did I feel the coldness of a tombstone inside instead of the joy of victory? On the walls, even the bravest warriors were silent, as if a joke had been played. Everyone was waiting. Then a soldier running towards the city gates shouted with surprise and excitement, "A gift! They have left us a gift!" From the south, by the sea, a gigantic shape appeared. It was made of wood, but blessed with a divine trick. A horse, silent, huge. A creation that filled the mortals' hearts with curiosity and triumph, but in my eyes, it was like a gift from Hades itself. A tombstone. I still remember that moment. The wooden eyes of the horse looked at Troy's walls with an empty expression. But behind that emptiness, I saw a burning rage. That horse was not an offering.
It was a ghost whispering Troy's death from within. The people suddenly started to cheer with joy. The weariness of the decade-long war had instantly given way to a wild exhilaration. Women, children, men, everyone gathered around that horse, touching it, looking at it with admiration. For them, this horse was proof that the war was over, that the gods had sent us a gift. They were dancing around that horse. I came down from the palace, running down the stairs as if flying. For the last time, with my last ounce of strength, I cried out, Don't open the gates. This is not a gift. This is destruction itself. Don't let it inside. Look inside the horse. There are Greek warriors inside. This is a trick of Odysseus. But they laughed. This time there was not ridicule in their laughter, but a sort of pity. For them, I was a miserable madwoman who could not be right with her last prophecy. My father Priam turned to me, his face showing joy and weariness. He said, "My daughter, the war is over. It is finally over. There is no longer a reason for you to be afraid." In that moment, I understood my own curse once more. And the heroes of Troy, with their own hands, tore down the gates of the walls that had stood tall for 10 years. Those destroyed gates were not just gates to a city, but death gates opening to a culture, to a civilization. They took the horse inside. Amid songs, dances, and festivities, they were carrying the soul of Troy to its own grave with their own hands. The silence of the gods had turned into Troy's last scream.
That night, the wind blew from the west. The breeze on my face was not the fresh smell of spring, but the sharp metallic scent of blood not yet spilled. While the sea had been pounding on Troy's walls with angry waves for 10 years, on that last night, it was quieter than ever. It was as if it was preparing for a funeral, and Troy slowly sank not into a 1,000-year sleep, but into a 1,000-year oblivion. My people, my sleepless, my weary people, fell asleep at the only consolation they had found in this false silence, while I was awake. They were dreaming. I was watching the reality. When the horse was taken inside the walls, I screamed. I knelt on the stone stairs of the palace, tore my hair and kissed the ground. "This is the body of destruction," I cried out. "This is the forgetfulness of the gods. This is my last warning." My voice was like the hiss of a snake, but no one listened to me. Those eyes, once again, wanted to see victory, not prophecy. Those ears wanted to hear sweet lies, not the bitter truth. And when the prophecy boomed once more, only the fire that illuminated Troy would make them see. Midnight. The streets were silent. The songs, dances, and festivities had ended. All the souls of the city, with the weariness of this false peace that came after a decade-long war, had fallen into a deep sleep. The darkness that emerged from the wooden belly of the horse was colder than the starless sky. The Achaean soldiers, as silent as death, as sharp as the wind, slipped out of the horse. Their swords gleamed in the moonlight like whispers of death. They were not men,
but ghosts. First, the children were caught in their sleep. In their cradles, with their mother's songs in their ears, they were having sweet dreams. The mothers, as they prayed, did not know that their children would never wake up from these sweet dreams. The screams began, first from a distance, then from everywhere. In a moment, all of Troy woke up with a scream of terror. That scream was more horrible than all the noise of the years-long war. King Priam, that magnificent king, died on the marble steps of the temple that morning. My father, that wise, that weary man, he had fought for Troy for years. He had lived for his children. But an Agamemnon's sword put an end to his life. As the blood from the sword flowed onto the marble stone of the altar, I felt that even the gods had fallen silent. Priam's lifeless body was washed in his own blood. And Hector's son, Astyanax, Troy's most innocent, most beloved child, his scream was sharper, more savage than his mother Andromache's scream. I saw him. That small, that innocent body was thrown down from the wall. With the silence that follows a prophecy, when that small body hit the rocks beneath the walls, Troy's last hope was also shattered to pieces. And I watched everything from the highest tower of the temple. My eyes were burning, but I was no longer crying, because every tear had already been shed. For 10 years, I had shed all the tears they couldn't shed. Now all that was left was to watch. The flames of the burning houses around me were illuminating the darkness of the night. Troy was no longer shining with the golden color, but with the red blood color of fire. Each flame represented the burning of a hope, the end of a life. Then the Achaeans who emerged from the flames came for me. 2 soldiers had broken down the doors of my temple. They saw my tattered clothes, my disheveled hair, that endless horror in my eyes. Still, one of them turned to me and with a sneer on his face said, "You are mad," he said, "but it's a beautiful madness." For them, beauty came before everything. I was forcibly taken to Agamemnon's ship. My arms were tied behind my back, the chains cutting into my skin. But neither this pain nor the shame of captivity could silence me. On the deck of the ship, I saw the ashes of Troy. That city, which once dazzled the eyes, was now just a smoking cemetery. In that moment, the voice of prophecy boomed once more within me. I turned to Agamemnon, looked him in the eyes. This time, my words were not a warning. This time, my words were a curse, a judgment. "There is a curse in your blood, Agamemnon," I cried out, my voice stronger than all the noise of the sea. "If you are taking me, you are taking your disaster with you. I am only the dead of Troy, but your fate is still being written. As you return home intoxicated with the bloody victory, a serpent is waiting for you. Your wife is waiting for you to avenge her daughter Iphigenia. Your blood will mix with the blood of my city, and then you will also understand the silence of the gods." He only looked at me with a smile. My words were only a mad woman's ravings for him. After so much blood, so much victory, what could a woman's words mean? I Cassandra, the voice the gods told me to see, but the mortals did not listen, became the carrier of another disaster along with the ashes of Troy. Because a true prophecy never ends. It only opens the door to a new tragedy after one has passed. And I am still standing on the threshold of that door, like a scream echoing in the darkness of history.
Troy was no more. In the place of that magnificent city, only a smoking, sooty ruin remained. From the deck of Agamemnon's ship, I watched the last rays of a setting sun shine on these ashes. There was neither sorrow nor hatred on my face, only an emptiness. Because for a decade, I had been watching a version of this scene come to life inside me, living it anew every day. Now this image was no longer a prophecy, but a reality. Now I only felt the cold and merciless hardness of this truth. The ship, with the wind and sorrow behind it, slowly glided into the deep waters of the Aegean. The sea, which once was a home to Troy's brave ships, now only carried a captive and a handful of Achaean heroes. Agamemnon, intoxicated with victory, sat on his throne on the deck drinking wine. But I, instead of his happiness, saw that dark shadow behind his eyes. I knew that his victory was the beginning of his own disaster. My words were not echoing in his ears, but they would be imprinted on his heart like a wound. Whenever he felt a breeze, whenever he heard the sound of a snake, whenever he heard his wife's voice, he would remember my words. The poison within that victory would soon engulf his entire palace and topple his throne. I, Cassandra, a princess who once lived in a gilded palace and spoke with the gods, was now a slave. The weight of my chains was both a physical and a spiritual burden, but these chains had given me a new power. I no longer had to announce my prophecies to anyone. Now I only knew the truth, and this set me free. Everyone believed I was mad. This was my greatest weapon, because reason sees danger, but madness plays with it. I, under the guise of madness, knew the entire future. As the sea hit the prow of the ship, I thought about the past, the last moment of Troy, Hector's magnificent posture, Paris's blind love, my father's tired face. I knew the end of each of them. This knowledge was my greatest torture. But now, along with the ashes of Troy, I felt that this pain was also coming to an end. Now all that was left was to look back and accept everything as it was. While I once watched my city from the highest tower of the palace, now I was looking at the cold waters of the sea from the lowest deck of Agamemnon's ship. My heart, once full of hope, was now only an emptiness. The next day, the ship approached Argos. The gilded harbor of Agamemnon's kingdom resembled Troy's, but I saw the dirty secrets, the rotten souls hidden beneath that gilding. In the harbor, I watched the people welcome Agamemnon with cheers. They were singing the song of victory, but I heard the death scream at the end of that song. Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, had risen from her throne,
and was waiting for him with wine in her hand. There was a smile on her face, but a fire of vengeance in her eyes. Agamemnon ran towards her, opening his arms. Clytemnestra embraced him. In that moment, I saw a snake's poison being dropped into a cup of wine, and my prophecy came true. Clytemnestra killed Agamemnon. That magnificent king was murdered by his own wife. His blood mixed with the blood of Troy. My last prophecy had taken its own revenge. In Agamemnon's last breath, the surprise and fear in his eyes had made him understand what the silence of the gods meant. Now he too saw the truth, like me, but it was too late. And me, I lived like a shadow after that moment. No one spoke to me, no one touched me. Cassandra, once a princess, was now just a legend. A Greek poet telling my story called me helpless. But I was not helpless. I was just a soul who knew the truth and carried that truth. And Troy, that magnificent city, was now only a memory in the dusty pages of history. The ashes of that city were floating in the deep waters of the Aegean. The soul of that city was living in those empty and echoing temples where my prophecies once lay. And I, Cassandra, am the last guardian of that soul. I am the scream of Troy.